You earn good money, better than most people you know. And yet, at the end of the month, you are not that far ahead. The savings are there, but not growing the way they should be. The lifestyle is comfortable, but it costs more than you expected. Something is not adding up. Most personal finance content will tell you to spend less, cut the subscriptions, skip the coffee, live like no one else so you can live like no one else later. But that is not what the data on actual wealthy people shows. When researchers spent decades studying how high net worth individuals actually spend their money, not how we imagine they spend it, but how they actually spend it, the picture that emerged was not about deprivation. It was about something more specific and more useful. Millionaires are not all frugal. They are selectively frugal. Today, we're going to go through what the research actually found, the categories where wealthy people consistently spend more than average, the categories where they consistently spend less, and the single behavioral pattern that runs through all of it. Some of this will confirm what you suspected, some of it will not. And one finding in particular tends to make people genuinely uncomfortable because it directly describes a spending pattern most people in this audience recognize in themselves. The research here draws primarily from Thomas Stanley's decades of surveying high net worth households, people with a net worth of $1 million or more. His findings, published in The Millionaire Next Door and Stop Acting Rich, have been reinforced by more recent behavioral economics research on wealth and spending behavior. 5 categories where wealthy individuals consistently spend more than average earners. Category 1: Health and preventive care. High net worth individuals spend significantly more on health, not reactive healthcare when something goes wrong, but preventive healthcare to stop things going wrong in the first place. Regular checkups, dental care, physical fitness, quality nutrition. The framing in the research is direct. Wealthy people treat their physical health as a capital asset. A body that functions well for longer is an asset that compounds. Protecting it is not a luxury expense. It is maintenance on your most valuable resource. Category 2: Financial advice and education. This one genuinely surprises people. Wealthy individuals spend considerably more than average on financial guidance, tax optimization, and continuing financial education. The logic is not complicated. A dollar spent understanding how to manage and grow money produces a different return than a dollar spent on consumption. Research consistently finds that high net worth individuals view spending on financial knowledge as one of the highest return investments available to them. They are not just making more money, they are continuously learning how to keep more of it. Category 3: Time-saving services. Cleaning, food preparation, administrative tasks, personal assistance. Wealthy individuals are disproportionately likely to pay for services that buy back their time. A 2017 study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that spending money on time-saving purchases produced measurable increases in life satisfaction, more than spending the same money on material goods. The mechanism is not complicated. Time is the one resource that cannot be created. Buying it back frees cognitive bandwidth for higher value activities. This is not laziness. It is resource allocation. Category 4: Experiences over objects. Research on experiential versus material spending consistently shows that experiences produce longer-lasting satisfaction than possessions. The excitement of a new possession fades quickly. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation, which we covered in a previous video. Experiences do not fade in the same way. They become part of your story. High net worth individuals skew heavily toward experiences, travel, events, meaningful time with family, and away from status objects. This is the opposite of how most people imagine wealthy people spend their money. Category 5: Quality over quantity in durable goods. When wealthy individuals do buy physical goods, they tend to buy fewer, higher quality items that last significantly longer. The math consistently favors this approach. One pair of shoes that lasts 10 years at $300 costs $30 per year. 3 pairs at $80 each, replaced every 2 years, costs $120 per year. The cheaper option costs 4 times more over a decade. The habit of buying less but buying better is a consistent pattern in the data on high net worth spending. 4 categories where wealthy individuals, particularly those who built their wealth rather than inherited it, consistently spend less than their income would suggest. Category 1. Cars. This is the single most consistent finding in wealth research. First-generation millionaires, people who built wealth from income rather than inheritance, spend significantly less on vehicles as a proportion of income than average earners. Stanley's research found that the most popular vehicle among first-generation millionaires was the Toyota Camry, with a median purchase price of $31,000. Not a Mercedes, not a BMW, a Toyota. Reliable, slow depreciating, zero status signaling. They have done the math on what a car actually costs, and they have made a different decision because of it. Category 2. Visible luxury goods. Expensive watches, designer clothing, premium branded accessories. The stereotype of the millionaire covered in status symbols is largely a myth when you look at the data on first-generation wealth. These purchases are actually more common among high earners who are not yet wealthy, people using consumption to signal a financial status they have not yet fully secured. The research term for this is conspicuous consumption, and the data consistently shows it is inversely correlated with actual net worth among people who built their own wealth. Category 3. Impulsive and default eating out. Wealthy individuals eat at restaurants, but their restaurant spending tends to be intentional, a chosen experience, planned in advance, that they genuinely value. What they avoid is the other kind of restaurant spending, the default Tuesday takeaway, the convenience lunch, the unconsidered spending that happens not because they wanted the experience, but because deciding felt like too much effort. That distinction, chosen versus default, appears repeatedly in the data as a fundamental difference in spending behavior between wealth builders and everyone else. Category 4. Subscriptions and recurring costs they do not review. Research on subscription spending finds that high net worth individuals are significantly more likely to conduct regular audits of their recurring costs and cancel services they are not actively using. The behavioral habit of reviewing recurring costs rather than letting them accumulate invisibly is one of the most consistent small-scale patterns among wealth builders. Not because the amounts are large individually, because the habit of conscious review applies to everything. You have probably noticed something running through every category on both lists. It is not the amounts. It is not the income level. It is not frugality as a philosophy. It is intentionality. Wealthy individuals are not necessarily spending less than you. They are spending deliberately. Every significant expenditure is a conscious choice rather than a default. They know what they spend. They know why they spend it. And they have made an active decision that this spending aligns with what they actually value, not what they think they are supposed to value, not what their social group is spending on, but what genuinely matters to them. This is the behavioral difference that the research consistently identifies. Not deprivation, not a philosophy of extreme frugality. Conscious allocation. And here is the uncomfortable part, the finding I mentioned at the start that tends to make people in this audience recognize something in themselves. The opposite pattern also has a name. It is called unconscious consumption, spending that happens by default rather than by decision. The subscription you forgot you had, the restaurant you went to because it was easy, the car upgrade you justified with 17 convincing reasons, the lifestyle that expanded to fill the income without anyone deciding it should. The research on wealth and spending is not saying wealthy people want less than you do. It is saying they have developed the habit of deciding before spending, rather than spending and then rationalizing. That is a habit, which means it can be built. Here is what the data is telling us. The frugal millionaire eating beans every night is a real archetype, but it is not the dominant one. The more consistent picture from the research is someone who spends intentionally on health, knowledge, time, and experiences, who consistently refuses to spend on status, default convenience, and things designed to signal wealth rather than build it, and who reviews their spending regularly enough that nothing is happening without their awareness. The categories where wealthy people spend more tend to have compounding returns in health, in knowledge, in time. The categories where they spend less tend to be where spending produces the least lasting value, status signals, depreciating assets, unconsidered habit. Here is your question for the comments. Look at your last 30 days of spending. Find one item, just one, that falls into the unconscious consumption category. Something you spent money on not because you decided to, but because it was the default. Comment what it was. I want to see what the data looks like for this audience specifically, and your answers will shape a follow-up video. If research-backed financial analysis is what you are looking for, subscribe. New video every Tuesday. Every one of them starts with the evidence.